Good evening. Once again, welcome to my home. This is part 2 of a series of discussions about money and political economy. This second segment is called, quote, What Money Is and Why Money Is Not Wealth, unquote. It isn't an official Occupy Tacoma statement. It reflects my particular point of view. The majority of Occupy activists, unlike me, are not socialists. My name is OldStudent. I am a blogger and writer, one of the Occupy Tacoma website administrators and editors. My cited documentation is in the downloadable versions of these articles, which you may find on the www.occupytacoma.org website or the www.alanoldstudent.com website. What money is and why money is not wealth. In the first dialogue of this series, we discussed the scope and subject matter of political economy, about how political economy deals with the ways that we humans earn our living, how we organize human society to create and distribute the necessities of life. We also talked about how important critical thinking is. When considering these matters, it is not advisable to blindly accept an economic explanation until you have understood it and it makes sense to you. As startling as it may seem at first glance, money is not really wealth. If you are plunked down on a desert island by yourself, money becomes quite worthless. After all, there is no place to spend it, is there? You can't eat dollar bills, wear dollar bills, use dollar bills as a safe, dry place to shelter you from the rain. Ancient Greek mythology illustrates this truth in a story about how King Midas learned that lesson. The myth has it that one of the gods, Dionysus, offered to reward King Midas any one wish because of an act of generosity that Midas had shown to Dionysus' father. The good King Midas, who was a bit short on cash, requested that everything he touched would turn to gold. The unfortunate King Midas had not thought through the consequences of this hasty and foolish prayer. Nonetheless, Dionysus granted this ill-conceived request, proving how much wisdom there is in the old adage, quote, Be careful of what you pray for, lest God grant your prayer, unquote. For a moment or two, the king's newfound power delighted him, thrilled him. King Midas tested out his recently acquired ability on a few twigs, leaves, and flowers, and was quite beguiled to see that they became stiff and golden. Overjoyed, he ordered his servants to fix a huge banquet. However, King Midas soon found to his horror that he could no longer eat because all the food he touched turned to gold, and it is said he died of starvation. Legend has it that his daughter, whom he loved very much, also turned to gold when Midas gave the unfortunate lass a fatherly kiss. Poor King Midas. He found out the hard way that money is not really wealth. If you think about it for a moment, instead of being wealth itself, money is a medium of exchange you use to obtain wealth. For our purposes, quote, wealth, unquote, consists of those goods and services that fulfill a human want or need that enable us to live. That's it. Consider the hypothetical society where one person makes tents, another grows food, another cooks food, another makes shoes, another grows cotton, and yet another makes yarn from the cotton, and someone else weaves the yarn into clothes. You get the picture. Now, suppose you're the baker. You bake 50 loaves of bread and you need a pair of shoes, so you go to the shoemaker and you bargain. You offer the shoemaker 8 loaves of bread for 1 pair of shoes. After a bit of haggling and after considering the value of the materials and labor, you and the shoemaker settle on exchanging 10 loaves of bread for 1 pair of shoes. Having decided that was a fairer exchange than 8 loaves of bread and 1 pair of shoes, you have engaged in what we call, quote, barter, unquote. Barter. Now suppose you need a shirt. You go to the shirt maker and you offer her 7 loaves of bread for 1 shirt, but the shirt maker doesn't want any bread, so she's not interested in doing business with you. Instead, she wants to bargain with the tent maker for a new tent, but the tent maker doesn't want any shirts. Instead, he needs 3 of those 7 loaves you had originally offered the shirt maker. So there you are, trying to set up a 3-way trade for articles of differing values, each party desiring different quantities of what's on offer. That makes this bargaining process quite complicated, and bargaining becomes even more complicated when it's a 6-way, a 10-way, or a 50-way trade, and that's where money comes in. Money becomes a unit of exchange. You can give the shirt maker 7 units of money for the shirt, and she gives you the shirt. The shirt maker can go to the tent maker, give him 25 units of money for the tent, and the tent maker can go to the baker and get 3 loaves of bread for 2.5 units of money. Money facilitates sophisticated trading of goods and services, values for values. To sum up what we've discussed this evening, the goods and services that enable us to live are what wealth really is, not money. Housing, food, clothing, entertainment, and so on all satisfy a human need and enable us to live, to survive. This wealth makes our life possible. Money, on the other hand, is a way to arrange the trade of values for values. But for these trades to work, the creators of wealth need to settle on the prices for their creations, and they've got to be prices that others are willing to pay. In other words, the seller and buyer have to agree on a price for the sale to take place. In our next discussion, we'll talk a bit about what goes into setting a price, about value, and about the factors of production. Thank you, and good evening.